Hi everybody, Crypto Billy here. Welcome to Billy Goat Tales and welcome to the Motivational Mindset series. So let's talk about 401ks and let's talk about some of the fallacies that I have found in my own personal opinion to be fallacies with a 401k. Now, if I'm talking about this, I have to give you my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say or do should be taken as financial advice. Take my personal opinion and run it by your financial advisor and have him poke holes in it. This is just one man's opinion, and that's all it should be taken as. Not financial advice, but just Crypto Billy's opinion of this. So the first thing that they don't do, in my opinion, that they don't disclose in a real good way to you is a 401k has very limited investment options. So number one, like right now, Fidelity has made available the Bitcoin ETF, but to 401k plans, some of them are not available to employees to invest in because typically they have mutual fund families and not just a singular stock or a singular bond or a singular ETF. You can't control that as the employee. They give you the options, the family of funds that you get to go in, and it's limited. It's very limited in scope. The second thing I would say is there's fees. And yes, they're in the prospectus that you receive. They're required to give you a prospectus. But a lot of people just don't read those things. And there's a difference between a front load fee, a back load fee, a middle fee, administration fees. And these fees, guys, they do add up. Over a course of 30, 40 years, they do add up. So in some regards, they're disclosed in the fine print in the perspective, and you have to read it, and it's on you to do that. So they do disclose the fees, but nobody reads that stuff, right? So you have to know, is it a front load fee? Is it a back end load fee? Or what kind of fee is it? 1%, 2%? Is there administration fees? There's all these fees. So over the course of 30, 40 years, that really matters. I know a guy, he and his wife opened up an account on the same day with the same dollar amount in the same fund. But that one day and they opened the same day. But one of the paperwork got processed that day, the lady's paperwork got processed the next day. One day different, 24 hours, less than 24 hours different. Today, 40 years later, they have $10,000 difference in the account. It's just one day later, over a course of 40 years, was a $10,000 balance difference. Now, that's the important of time value of money, but not so much the fees itself, but time value of money. The other thing with 401k that they don't really talk about is the penalty if you try to pull it out before age 59 and a half. Most of them are 10% penalty. And they automatically take out your personal income tax when they try to give you that check. So say you got 100 grand in there, you want to take out $10,000. Most of these are automated. So when you try to take out 10, they take off the 10% penalty, and then they take out 20% for your personal income tax. So you don't end up with $10,000 if you needed that money, and it's your money. But the way the government rules are, even though it's your money, you're not 59 and a half, you're paying that penalty. And you don't get a choice in a lot of these plans, not all of them, you don't get a choice to pay the tax later on. They take it out up front too. So penalties with the 401ks are really big. The next thing is the tax consideration they sell as a value. Is it really a good deal? Here's what we were sold 30, 35, 40 years ago. Hey man, you put all this money in there, and then when you're 65, or you're retired, when you get to retirement, you're probably going to be in a lower income tax bracket. Well, that made sense. But a lot of professionals actually just keep earning money, right? Whether you're a business owner or whether you're doing well in your career and you just keep making more and more and more. So you find yourself not really wanting to retire. Maybe you're a grinder. Maybe you have tremendous drive and work ethic and you just don't want to retire. So now you're 60, you're over 59 and a half, and You're like, hey, I want to tap into my 401k. Maybe I need it for my kids, or maybe I need it for my grandkids. Guess what? You're at a high income tax bracket, so you don't get that tax benefit that they sold you 35, 40 years ago. You just never know how your life's going to unfold to be. So the tax consideration is really important. And the next one I would say for me has been personal control. You just really don't have a lot of personal control. You have the limitation of the plans, the limitation of what's available, the limitation of taking it out too early. You have limitations. Maybe you have new goals every 10 years. It's very limiting. And so that is the limitation piece is why it's been a problem personally for me. Like, for instance, I said it earlier when we had this Bitcoin, it was available, the ETF, but it wasn't available to all 401k plans. There's typically an operating agreement between, say, Fidelity and a company. And there's a board set up at your company typically that kind of administers that. And so if they want to keep the selections very, very mild, then they're not going to ever offer the Bitcoin ETF. And they typically don't offer it if it's a single stock, or most 401ks are a mutual fund family, whether it's Oppenheimer or whether it's Fidelity or whether it's any of these big broker houses. They typically are aligned with certain fund families, and they offer just that. So limitation's huge. Now, yes, you do get a match in most cases. They match 1%, 3%, 5%, 50%, whatever it is. That's free money. Absolutely. So run this by your financial advisor. I have found, for me, I cut back my 401k percentage that's being deducted, and I directly use that money to buy Bitcoin. That's what I do, because Bitcoin annualizes at about 114%. You can look that up. Please verify this. But roughly on its worst year, I think the worst 4-year period, Bitcoin's return was 25%. And on, I think its best 4-year period was over 200%, and it annualizes out at about 114%. And so let's just cut that down to 100%. It analyzes out at 100%, just so nobody's passing on false information, right? Okay. Well, the S&P average is between 12 and 15%. Bitcoin's annualizing at 100%. In its worst year, 25%. In its worst 4-year period, 25%. It's not even close, guys. So there's a lot of fallacies with this 401k stuff. May work for you, great. It hasn't been the best for me. And I wanted to make sure that you get this information and then run it by your financial advisor and see what they say. All right, guys, hope this helped you understand 401ks a little bit better. Crypto Billy out.